video you get out of that when I travel. I don't have to rig it up. I don't need a monitor. I don't
GH6, anyone? Yeah, we got it. Leica 8 to 18 mil, 2.8. Face detection autofocus working flawlessly. The best camera ever. I just have it. My friend has it. We're gonna test 4K 120p HD 300 frames per second. I am in a studio. White balance confirmed.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
All right, we got a lot to get to. I got a bunch of footage from the Panasonic GH6, 4K 120p, 300 frames. I found a dog outside. Bunch of cool things happened. Now first, I must say, I don't know if it was my settings. I thought the Panasonic pigskin was fixed. As you saw in the opening statement, the color was okay because I graded it. This is what it looked like with just the LUT. I'm in Vlog. I put Panasonic's Vlog LUT on to 720, and here we have pigskin confirmed. It was so oversaturated and red exaggerated, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it was his settings. I didn't go through everything. I just changed some shit. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was saturation plus 27. Dynamic range boost off. Lights, face. Now we're gonna turn it on. Now it's on. It was on for that first clip as well, by the way. I just turned it off briefly. Is it amazing? Does it look rich? Like full frame? Oh yeah. How's the stab on it? Is there any warpy corners? I don't mind it. I don't mind you. Oh, I could totally picture getting this for wildlife. And vlogging. And YouTube studio. Sell everything else. Return to my roots. I couldn't see much of a difference, if I'm being honest with you, but I bet it would show up eventually, side by side. I don't know, that was just a weird fluorescent light on the ceiling. He had a bunch of soft boxes. I should have asked him to set one up, and then I could have had like professional studio lighting for once in our lives instead of a mixed window light and this one. Ouch. We got a lot of plot twists coming up. So I test some slow motion modes. First, the thing that just makes me want to get this, that pixel to pixel mode. Let me just explain it quickly. Say Panasonic sensor is 5.7K roughly pixels. You can shoot 4K using that downsampled or whatever, or you could crop in to 4,000 pixels and still get like clean 1:1 ratio 4K with a crop. It works in 4K 120p and HD 240p, not in 300 frames per second for some diabolical reason. Oh man, but that could be fun. And I should have confirmed, but 240p might crop in even further to a 1080p pixel to pixel. It would. I forget if it did. Okay, so let's test out 4K 120p, no pixel to pixel, just full no crop. That's nice. Fuji with your 29% crop, your 38% crop in the HD. 4K 120p with audio. Now, if you're wondering which had the better 4K 120p, it's hard to say, but it just looks like I prefer the Fuji image in every single metric that you could possibly measure. It's just the Fuji has more dynamic range, I'm better exposed, I'm sharper. Because it cropped in, I mean, it's not fair. GH6 didn't crop, and that should be a better thing, but there's more tonne. I don't know, man. It's a Leica versus Zeiss, but it is a zoom versus a prime. It's not super fair, but man, Panasonic has the edge. because they do 300 frames per second, and it didn't look terrible to my eyes. I've seen some terrible looking footage, but this looked okay. I was kind of happy with it. I could totally be using that in my life. It was so slow. That's amazing. Like, that's my favorite spec, slow motion, and Panasonic now leads the industry in at least mirrorless. Unlimited recording, it's 10-bit, 420, no audio, but it's decent. Here I want to show you the pixel to pixel. So this is uncropped 4K. This is my buddy Daman, Discovery camera. He might release a video one day. And it looks good, looks fantastic. And now I'm gonna switch into pixel to pixel mode, which crops. Still looks really good to me. I mean, there could be some noise. It wasn't the best lighting. That's what I noticed. The GH6 kind of noisy in the footage, in that studio at least. But it's Micro Four Loser Thirds. I mean, you have to expect noise. You can't show up at a baby shower and expect to remain silent if you bring a Micro Four Thirds. You're gonna have noise. Now, I don't mean to alarm you, but I did find a dog in 300 frames per second. He was running, hoping I would throw something for him. The cinema was ours.
Walking backwards, but I'm going forwards. But sometimes I go sideways, or maybe in a spiral.
He's walking in a circle. Where's he going?
Just a little side rant, that dog. So we show up to this guy's studio, there's a parking lot, and then there's this dog that runs up to us immediately looking like either aggressive or wants to play. I couldn't decipher what he wanted. And so like I saw a little ball there and I was like, oh, he does want to play. So I kicked it and he ran, but he wouldn't get it. He just looked at it and I was like, what's going on here? Apparently this dog is so well trained. There was like this much space of grass and then all parking lot. And he is trained not to go into the parking lot ever. So he doesn't get hit by a car, there's no risk. So like there was a sign that said all this. I didn't see it, it was behind a tree. And the guy came out, he's like, didn't you read the sign, you moron? You gotta kick it in. I was like, what sign? Who would expect it? I couldn't see it. So anyway, I threw the ball in his little grass field and then he got it. That dog will live forever. That's cool. So I wanted to see the difference between 5.7K 60p, which I can't even play this file. It just stutters. That's unfortunate. That's impossible to edit. And then 4K 120p, how does that look compared to the 5.7K? And also the HD 300 frames, not bad. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not as sharp, obviously, but it's not like, oh man, that is unusable. It looks good. It's just kind of noisy. That's it. That excites me as a potential wildlife camera. Say you get the 100 to 400, or dare you dream, the Leica 200mm prime 2.8 with the teleconverter. You're in, say, 4K 120p. You switch into pixel to pixel to crop in. You lose no sharpness, but you gain reach. Then you switch over custom mode dial to 300 frames per second. Oh no, no longer pixel to pixel. Oh, damn. Oh well, still looks good for that magical moment. Full release on those hawk wings. A squirrel blinking at you, something magic. And then 240 if you had to lower your standards, but 10-bit and you could pixel to pixel. crop in on that, super crop. I want it bad. This is, wow, I'm in a studio. This is about as bad a look as you could get. Oh boy. Oh yeah, we're on the Olympus 20mm 1.4. Is it face tracking me? Wow, I suck at framing. There's no tripod. Not bad. Dual pixel autofocus confirmed. What the hell? Do it. There. It's a good vlogging lens. I'll leave. Now the autofocus seemed to perform well enough, but I've been fooled in the past, and you can't trust Panasonic to just have your back in all situations. Eventually they will pulse and lose you, but good enough for that. If I would to buy it with that Leica 9mm, I would be manually focusing in here and done. Dynamic range boost, somewhat acceptable, pigskin color face. Now I promised you some plot twists, and I wasn't expecting this to happen. I tried to sell the Fuji X-H2s that you are witnessing the glory of F-Log 2 right now. Wanted to sell it, no one would buy it. So I was thinking maybe just sell the X-T4 then, even though it's like better, and it is confirmed better, by the way, before we find out if I sold it or not. I did a little test to find out once and for all what has the better 240 frames. This is base ISO for both, and now we're somewhat properly exposed, 320. I'm seeing X-T4 might have the edge. I think it does have the edge. When we go to 640, I'm seeing the moire in my eyebrows on the X-T4 where it's not on the XH2s, so there might be an advantage, but the noise is now getting almost unusable at 1250 for some reason, worse than the X-T4, except the moire is better. So I don't know if there's like an anti-aliasing filter in the XH2s or something. That was my friend's theory. Maybe? I could have caught that. You don't know that I didn't have the skills. But like the higher ISO you get, the worse the XH2s looks in comparison. And they were custom white balanced. I don't know what happened to the X-T4. It looks warmer and better. Immediate regret on selling that X-T4. Not that I sold it. 12,800 ISO. It's like, yeah, I have the worst 240 frames by keeping the Fuji X-H2s. And it's devastating. It's downright devastating. And there's nothing you can do to fix it. Just one last little test. On the left, you're seeing the best Fuji can do. All-eye, 422, 10 bits, 720 megabits, and versus like the worst it can do. And then I just keep going through different codecs, hoping to find a sweet spot. I'm talking to my friend with that headset. It's like 8-bit, no, doesn't really look better. Like nothing looks better. There's no way to make that look good. I think we're at 6400 ISO, and I just kept it the same, and there's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing. Like, it's just that noise pattern is so noticeable. It's pretty soft. That's devastating. And there's ProRes, just in case you want to know. It don't look better. So basically, I sold the better camera in the X-T4 to somewhat take some cost off of this, and I feel devastated. Now we don't have Fuji Magic. I'm considering selling the 100 to 400 and getting the GH6 for a wildlife experiment and see, could that be better now than this? Because this, I'm not super happy with it. Maybe I'll keep that lens so I can do the experiment comparison, GH6 versus XH2s for wildlife. What lens should I get though? The 100 to 400, it'd be nice to have something that small I could travel with. I'm not traveling with that Fuji lens. No way. In the Sony, no way. So it's like, it'd be nice to have something smaller
That Leica 200mm, that don't look very small at all. Looks as heavy as that, if not heavier. The 100 to 400 was the sweet spot. The GH6 body was heavy, but a heavy body is not a deal breaker. By the way, I have a lav mic running and
A shotgun, and I've already decided which sounded better to my ears for some reason.
so other than the colors, which hopefully was user error somehow, or I'm using like a wrong LUT, I was pretty happy going back to my roots. Panasonic, that's what I started with. That was my first mirrorless camera because it outperformed all others. Had the flippy screen, best IBIS. I was like, okay, I'll manually focus. And then boom, you have the best. Unfortunately, their white balance technology lacks a lot. It's always just weird, warm and bad, similar to Sony. But I could see those frame rates winning my heart. And they have some nice lenses. Not bad, Panty Boy. You don't get my check mark of approval yet, but you could have fun with slow motion dog footage. Huh? All right, last side tangent and then I'll leave. I have the Canon EOS R, wonderful gift from Ian Corzine. I'm debating what lens to get. I saw a Canon 24mm 1.4 used on eBay. I was debating it. It got sold. The only one left has balsam separation, whatever that means. Oh man, and the Voigtlander 20 3.5 could be a thing, but I don't know. I sent Angry Photographer an email. I don't know if I got his wrong email because I haven't heard from him. It was a long, detailed request of every 3D pop lens imaginable from 15 to 24mm for each system. I know it was a lot of work. It was a high demand email. I would have ignored it too, but help me, please. And then we know, boom, these are the lenses with fidelity and just spirit and magnetism. So I want 3D pop, and I take no back seats to ghetto lenses that don't have heart or character. So we're done. GH6s are available down below, by the way, for full price. Affiliate link, wise. Subscribe. Buy a shirt.